What's going on, YouTube? My name is GinJTCG or Chris, and today I am finally back doing my recap of the Milwaukee Regional Championship and how it went for me. Before I would like to jump into today's video, I'd like to start with a couple, or really just like one, I guess, big thank you, and then I've got a couple announcements at the end of the video that are actually really massive and I'm excited to talk about. But the first one, just being thank you for your patience. I mean, it's been, I guess, a bit of a hard couple weeks with like work and grad school and everything, so I really haven't made much many videos or much content at all because I was trying to get those like situated as well as get some testing done for Milwaukee, so I really wasn't able to upload anything until today's video. So thank you guys for your patience and all the kind words. It really meant so much to me knowing I have such a nice community that is always backing me and letting me get my life together, because sometimes, you know, I'd just be falling apart and needed to get everything down. Speaking of things I got down was my Milwaukee deck list, and you know what, let me actually just move my face cam out of here. Don't worry about that. Like on-demand editing real quick. For now, I want to show everyone the Crustle list that I played and actually made day 2 with at the Milwaukee Regionals, and I'll be getting into the matchups in a little bit. But first, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the deck list. I mean, this deck list felt amazing. I mean, this felt like such a good Guardy 60. There was really not any card in this deck I feel like didn't hold some value. I think the card I used the least was actually the Jet Energy. I think that like maybe could have been a therapeutic energy, but for the most part I wasn't even that pressed about it. I mean, the Jet Energy felt pretty fine in the list, but you know, I did stray from the normal Crustle variant that's playing the Shuckle and Secret Box. I'm also not using Turbo Energize is one of the big changes I made, and I'm not playing as many Iono. I'm just playing one, and I'm playing Zerosix, which was such a game changer in so many matchups. And I think that's really like the craziest. Oh, I'm playing Rock Chestplate as well instead of Defiance Fest. But I'll talk about those in a second. In general, I played Crustle because it felt like an amazing meta call. I mean, yes, it's got a very bad matchup into Gardevoir, but honestly, there's a few things that have bad matchups into Gardevoir and still have been doing fine, so I figured I might as well play the Crustle. I didn't have the world's most time to practice beforehand like I did for Pittsburgh, just because of work and school, as I mentioned, so, you know, I needed to play a deck that I knew I was already comfortable with, and Crustle feels amazing into literally the entire meta, with like the sole exception of Gardevoir and a couple other decks which I hit on day 2, but, you know, it's not like I could have prepped for those. But before I get into like those matchups, I want to just kind of talk about some of the cards in this deck. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about what Crustle is or what it does or how the deck operates, but in general, you're using Crustle with Mysterious Rock In, where you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. So basically, you're forcing super awkward games by using Crustle to force non-optimal attackers, and then the Psyduck to help in the Dusknoir matchup, the Monkey Dory for healing, the Ethan Sudowoodo, which is really the only Gardevoir win con with Impound on the Mew EX, to shut down any retreating and big attackers. They can't copy anything but Impound. We got Rock Chestplate to nullify the damage, and then we got Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, which walls out all ability-based decks such as Gold and Go, you know, and other decks like that. So, I mean, every Pokemon in this deck was wildly helpful. Going into the more specifics on why I chose to play some of the cards, I mean, I think Zerosix Machinations is the best card in a slower-paced deck. Oftentimes, especially without any hand disruption, knowing we just play one Iono and consciously not using that one Iono in the early game, your opponent's actually able to build up such a massive hand, especially after Lily's Determination, when they haven't taken any prize cards, and drawing up to 8 cards and then playing the rest of their turn. So having Zerosix Machinations and forcing them to drop, you know, card combos all the way down until they have 3 cards was so helpful in so many matchups such as Ceruledge and Golden Go. And one of the Dragapult matchups I had, I mean, it was a huge card that really helped me kind of secure what felt like a great game 2, even though I couldn't close it out because of time. But I mean, in general, Zerosix Machinations was probably one of the most slept on cards for this deck, especially when you're relying on Impound or just wall stalling in general. A lot of times you actually can win by deck out, so preventing your opponent from going Iono in the late game when they have like 5 cards left in their deck. You could play Zerosix when they've, you know, got a few cards left in their deck, and, you know, they're just kind of waiting to rip that Iono when things get a little thinner. You could throw that guy down. They're going to have no cards in hand. There are some times where your opponent just scoops. It definitely happened to one of my opponents, I believe. I don't totally remember if it was they scooped the turn Zerosix was played or like the turn or 2 after, just because they couldn't pull off another combo. But I mean, Zerosix was huge. One of the other big, or I guess two in tandem cards I played was Super Potion as well as Poke Vital A. So I actually opted to drop Turbo Energize for Super Potion and drop Secret Box for Poke Vital A, and I don't regret it in the slightest. I actually think I probably would have lost so many more matches if it wasn't for these two cards in specific. By using Poke Vital A to just heal all the damage that Fan Rotom can do, or Soul Rock can do, those 70 damage attackers to Crustle, and just telling them to do it again on your active Crustle without the need to set up another Crustle is so important. And Super Potion just being there as a backup, like heal 60 because Poke Vital A was prized, which happened to me a couple times, or just get rid of some extra damage that I couldn't totally heal off with Monkey Dories was just so nice. I think those two cards were huge. When I was playing it with Turbo Energize initially, I felt that every time I wanted to use Turbo Energize, I actually needed to Ascension every single time, and the matchups where I was using Cornerstone and I was able to use Turbo Energize felt no decrease in how amazing they still felt without the Energize. I was still fine taking it a turn slower, especially since I'm putting more of the resources into healing my Pokemon. It really just made it so my early game was just a little bit slower, but I was able to get the Pokemon like against Golden Go I needed down, and then I was able to heal it after it was fully set up, and my opponent had already expended too many resources pulling that off, so then they weren't able to close out a single KO on Cornerstone. So I love Poke Vital A, I love Super Potion. Definitely don't think I'll be cutting those anytime soon. I think I'll just be switching Super Potion to the new big ice cream cone that comes out like in November. But past that, I mean, Super Potion felt amazing for now. Definitely will be rocking this in the deck. I cut Defiance Vest for Rock Chestplate because it really only came up in the Gardevoir matchup, specifically to nullify the damage that Mew EX could copy off Impound, whereas Rock Chestplate, it's just 30 less damage, Defiance Vest is 40, but Defiance Vest has the caveat where you have to be behind on prize cards, and especially in Guardy, which could be a little bit of a slower deck depending on their start, I found myself oftentimes being ahead or on pace with Gardevoir in the early game, so having Rock Chestplate to just an on-demand Sudowoodo and I don't have to worry about being behind felt so powerful, as well as for the Cornerstone Ogerpon, since Rock Chestplate's caveat is it has to be attached to a fighting Pokemon. So having Rock Chestplate on the Corner Pond to force single prize Golden Goes and Soul Rocks to do 90 damage or 40 damage was legitimately like a make or break. The copy of Air Balloon was huge, which just kind of helped with the pivot, and then because I'm not playing Shuckle and I'm playing Triple Monkey Dory, I am playing 4 Grass instead of 5 and 3 Dark Energy instead of 2. I was playing with Shuckle, and I actually found that it did nothing different than Monkey Dory, except Monkey Dory allowed me to swing for a little bit more damage when you take into account you move the damage counters to your opponent's active, and that actually helped me set up some huge plays, which I'll get into in my matchup breakdown. So I definitely like the triple Monkey Dory, and until I find the matchup where I legitimately need Shuckle, I'm probably not going to put it in my deck, to be fair. I know some people are like, oh, but it helps in Gardevoir because you can remove the damage counters in play, and I feel like we're teching for Gardevoir so much to still have a losing win percentage into it. So I figured my Gardevoir matchup will get a little bit worse. I still have my win con, which is Ethan Sudowoodo. It's still really not super hard to pull it off. I've been able to do it, a few times in testing, but when I was using Secret Box and when I was using Defiance Vest and when I was using Shuckle, it didn't make that matchup any less awful. It actually pretty much stayed the same, and I switched to all healing because now if they don't have the perfect Screamtails KO in the early game, I pretty much just full HP my Crustle instantly, so I didn't really feel any difference. I still feel like I made my opponent work for those wins. I think this list was pretty optimal as far as I'm concerned. I think this is one of the better lists I've kind of came up with and taken and adapted to my own playstyle, and it's one I'll be sticking with for a bit. Now, moving on into the actual run, I was able to go 7-5-2 and secure 307th place, which is, I understand, nothing to brag about for most people, but I'm not Azul or Tord or, any of the other top players that just consistently make top 8 every single regional. This is the first season I'm really kind of taking playing a little bit more seriously, and I just went back-to-back day 2s at regionals, and I'm super proud of myself for that. So I guess I am sitting here bragging a little bit about my 307th place. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, but that's not even good. Hey, man, my goal was to make day 2, and I made day 2. So I kind of want to just, shout out the work I put in and how it went overall. So, 7-5-2, not bad at all. Considering that day 1, which consisted of the, first 8 rounds, I actually went 1-2 at the beginning. I had a crazy comeback and did a whole lot better as time went on. So, that might be one of the things I'm proud of myself most for, was starting the day off going 1-2, and then moving on from there and just winning out the rest of the day, IDing the final to guarantee my day 2 is something I am super proud of myself for, and I think I played very hard and worked very hard to make that happen. So now getting into my matchups more specifically, I played my opponent Chris on the first round, who was playing Cereledge EX, and I mean, that was an amazing start to the day. My opponent knew, we were in the Chris mirror, we were going to see what's happening. He was talking about how he had the nuts on a Crustle tech, but he opted to take it out, and I mean, he was telling it to me, and my God, it was good. But, he took it out because Crustle wasn't something he was, like a matchup he was worried about hitting. Sadly, I was his round 1 opponent, and I was playing Crustle, so that matchup was pretty much an auto win for me, as you could tell by the other 3 I also played against. I mean, I feel like I made a good meta call. I did tell my buddies the day before, Bluestone, Totodile Gang, and Chef Husky, 3 members on the Draw Pass TCG team, that I did actually think Gardevoir was not going to get over 15% in all deck variants, and that I thought Cereledge and Grimmsnarl were going to be wildly popular, which ended up being very true. I also said Charizard was going to be pretty popular, but I didn't think it was going to be as popular as it was. I actually had Grimmsnarl being more popular than Zard. So that was like the biggest off prediction in my meta prediction, but I mean, I was still pretty much on the money with it, and being a lot of Cereledge and me hitting a lot of Cereledge was something I legitimately predicted, so I was really ready to go into that round 1 matchup. I kind of had my lines prepared, and I was able to just get the ball going and play really well, so I was able to close out the first win. Match number 2 was what I believe is my 50-50 matchup, and really one of the only 50-50 matchups for Crustle, which is Dragapult Dusknoir. I mean, Psyduck helps a ton, and that matchup we actually were able to finish the first game in about 23-ish minutes, I think it was, or something like that. I just lost. I couldn't get set up fast. I had a decent out to a win con. I just couldn't pull it together. My opponent, a really, really nice guy, but consistently had the beans, man. I mean, he was just moving. We go into match number 2, though, and I don't think I had a better setup the rest of the day than I did in match 2. I mean, I was cruising through that second game against Park with Dragapult Dusknoir, but what sucked was Dragapult Dusknoir is one of those decks that takes 50 actions. So my opponent was able to play the clock very well, and he was able to go Lily's Determination and then pull off Triple Recon Directive, and each of his turns was taking a pretty long time. Not that he was slow playing, but he was just doing actions to keep himself in the game and making sure he wasn't rushing himself. And again, I don't want people to think he was slow playing. He was just doing what any smart player would, and just playing a little bit slower, making sure he was making the right decisions. He wasn't misplaying, so I couldn't close out the second game in time. We did get into a spot when time was called where I did have double boss in hand. I don't believe he had any more hand disruption in his deck. He had 3 Iono in the discard, and there was a Dusclops with no recovery to get the Dusknoir and a Hawlucha in his bench, and I was sitting on double boss. And with the old time rules, I would have had 2 turns to take those last 2 prize cards. With the new time rules, was not able to make it work, was only able to get one of those KOs, so I was not able to pull off the tie in match number 2. I did have to settle for the loss, which was pretty hard, but it felt pretty good because I played very solid. Match number 3 is another loss against Sam's Dragapult Dusknoir deck, but I did kind of want to look at his deck list, and I just wanted to say here, Crustle can't beat this many Dusknoirs, dog. I mean, when you got a 3-2-2 line of Dusknoir, Neo Upper to make it a good attacker, and Klefki to shut down your Psyduck, dude, I was cooked. I knew he didn't play any Jamming Tower. The third Night Stretcher also caught me a little bit off guard. I kind of only expected the double Night Stretcher, which many Dragapult Dusknoir lists are playing. The double switch made it hard to go for any sort of retreat lock, obviously, but I noticed that in game 1, so I really didn't need to pull that out as a potential for game 2. But I feel like this Dragapult Dusknoir list was just so primed to take me out. And I mean, kudos to my opponent because he got 85th place. So really, this Dragapult Dusknoir list was absolutely cooking. Guy was on fire, really smart player. Was pretty inexperienced in the Crustle matchup, and even he said that, but just having the fatter Dusknoir line was able to pull him through, and that was just a little bit too hard for Crustle to work through. So that definitely was the Dragapult Dusknoir that I wasn't prepped to face. Looking at Park's list, this is the build that I was more ready to play. I mean, the Turo was a little annoying and definitely caught me a little bit off guard at one point when I got some damage on the Fez, but it's got the standard 2-2-1 Dusknoir line with the 2 Night Stretcher and the 2 Jamming Tower, which of course is hard to work around, but when you have less Dusknoirs and less recovery, it's not awful, and you actually can make it work. I just couldn't get through the beef that Sam had in that third matchup. So that was my loss, and I was feeling pretty defeated jumping into my fourth match, but I was able to play against Martin, who was playing a Sarah Ledge deck, and Martin was a really, really nice guy. Both of us were feeling a little bit down in the dumps, I thought, because we were 1-2. But then when he flipped over Sarah Ledge, I was able to look at myself and be like, all right, I just got to move on. This is a matchup I'm looking for. Obviously, Martin was not looking for a Crustle matchup, and same with Andrew, who was the opponent after him. With both of them on Sarah Ledge, me closing out those games and bringing myself back to 3-2, I felt I had a little bit of hope if I could close out 2 wins over the next 2 rounds and then comfortably ID my 8th round. Luckily, my round 6 opponent was playing Golden Go, and again, not a matchup he was looking to see. He did have a lot more outs to Cornerstone than I had previously expected. I feel like not many people, or so I thought, not many people who were playing the Soul Rock build of Golden Go would also be running the single prize Golden Go to get through the Cornerstone, so that was extremely difficult to work through when I realized it. But that's one of those situations where Pokevital A just proved itself to be one of the best cards in my deck. Pokevital A plus Rock Chestplate shut down the single prize Golden Go to swing 90 damage a turn when it evolved, and then plus a Lunatone swinging for 40, I was able to just absolutely beef my way through with 1 Cornerstone and kind of just take down that matchup number 6. Matchup number 7, we played against Nabil. He was actually one of the nicest guys I think I played all tournament. That's really saying something because every opponent I played was literally the kindest person ever, and that is while I'm playing a very toxic deck. But Nabil obviously was not looking forward, knowing that we both needed to win this matchup to really try to ID and make day 2. We came up with a agreement early where we were making sure we wouldn't tie, and he was really cool about that. We kind of talked about it as we were setting up for play, where I told him, I'm like, look, dude, a tie does not benefit either of us. Of course, I don't know what you're playing. You don't know what I'm playing, but I just want to say this beforehand. Like, one of us is walking away with this win, and if you're comfortable, I would like to do kind of like a board state agreement if we make it to time, where we could kind of just talk through what's in the rest of our deck and make that decision, like who we think will win. And I told him, I'm like, look, if I don't think I'm winning this matchup, I'm not going to sit here and waste your time and argue to you about the win cons that I really don't have. I promise you, if I'm losing, I will tell you I'm losing, and I will sign that slip with you on the victor side. And he was awesome about it, and he said the same thing. He's like, dude, look, you seem like a great guy. We were chatting for like a couple minutes waiting for the round to start. He's like, you seem like a guy I could trust. I will hold that same expectation of myself and of you, and I will tell you everything I have, and if this is a matchup I don't think I could win, I'm totally all for, like that gentleman's board state agreement. We later come to find out that he was playing Sarah Ledge, and I was playing Crustle in the next 2 minutes, and, that matchup kind of ran its course. He fought very well, but, Crustle is just so favored into Sarah Ledge, it's not even funny. Pokevital A, again, just being the absolute, star of the show across these 4 rounds, 4 through 7. Just having one Crustle with Luxcape in these types of matchups is so hard for Sarah Ledge and Golden Go to go through. When you take into account the Pokevital A when they're already not one-shotting you, and then combo with the Super Potion after you use the Pokevital A, it's just so disheartening for, you sitting across that Crustle to see it get full healed after full healed plus Monkey Doried. It's so much to work through. So, unfortunately for Nabil, he had to hit that really bad matchup into Crustle, and I was able to walk into match number 8. Sitting down for match number 8, my opponent Alfredo comes up, and when he sits down, I could see he looks like crazy nervous, and I look at him, and I'm like, look, dude, we're both 5-2. If we ID, we're going to day 2. You want ID? And he looked at me, and the biggest smile broke on this guy's face, and he's like, I was so nervous you weren't going to ask that. And I'm like, dude, I just want to make day 2. I don't care what we got to do. I'd really, if you want to play it out, of course I will, but I'm down. And he's like, oh, thank God. He took the ID. And we're sitting there, and almost every single opponent around us is playing, to the point where me and him are like, are we supposed to be playing this? Because we thought we were going to ID to day 2. But so many people were playing that, winning in, or that ID ID matchup. We were 5-2. All we needed was a tie, and so many people were playing for that win to go 6-2. We didn't want to take the chance. We ended up getting some food together after. I mean, this guy was so nice, dude. I mean, he really was like a really cool guy to just hang out with, eat. We were talking about our buddies that we both came with, how they were doing. He asked me, or I asked him what he was playing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm playing Joltik Box," and I'm like, "Oh, dog. Thank God he took this ID." And he's like, "Oh no, what were you playing?" And I'm like, "Crustle." And his face, I mean, he literally put his head down on the table for a second. He's like, "Oh my God, thank God you were the person who asked ID," because he knew, and he was telling me what's in his deck. There was no way he was working around this Crustle. He did amazing. He went 8-5-1. But dude, I mean, look at a list like this. He's playing 1 Galvantula and 1 Night Stretcher, and he told me that, and he's like, "There's no way I would have made it through a single Crustle." And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, unless we're playing like Tool Scrapper or Jamming Tower or some crazy tech for it, like, yeah, I felt really good into that matchup. So, I think if we had played it out, I think just based off the matchup, of course I could brick and he could go for like the double donk, but he has to go for a jolting charge, and all I need is 1 turn with a supporter since I play like 50 of them to set up. So, we took the ID, but it felt pretty good knowing that it was still a good meta call matchup anyways. And then, yeah, I ended up playing against Brennan Connor in round 9, my first phase 2 matchup after I got a bite to eat with Alfredo. Brennan was playing Gardevoir. And as you know, Crustle is awful into Gardevoir, and this might have been the hardest I've laughed in arguably any regional ever. I mean, I was actively, like, I gave it a good go up until Brennan was like, "Yeah, all I need to do is not play Mew, and then you can't win." And I'm like, well, this is chalked because, I mean, you're right. Like, I can't. So we got to a point where I'm legitimately, like, bossing up Pokemon to attack my Cornerstone just to try to win, just to try to help Brennan win, because I was scooping after game 1. I literally just wanted to play 1 game and then eat because I had not eaten much all day up until Alfredo's matchup. But Brennan literally just could not pull it off, and I'm refraining from showing the list in a second because I'll get to that. But, I mean, we were laughing so hard over the jokes like being made. That might have been one of like my prime funny moments in all honesty. I mean, I was having Brennan crack up with the stuff I was saying, but I mean, I was laughing hysterically too. I mean, Brennan was a funny person, dog. But it was a great time, great matchup, ton of fun to play against, absolute treat of a end to my first day of play. And then after the game, Brennan's like, "Hey, did you want to see my list?" Because it played the Mega Gardevoir, which funny enough, I actually pulled off Zerosic in that game as my one annoying play. And Brennan's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get rid of the Mega Gardevoir, I'm going to get rid of this Ultra Ball." And then next turn proceeds to Lily's Determination to try to draw into Rare Candy Gardevoir to just blow up my Cornerstone and end it. And that Ultra Ball ended up being the last Ultra Ball in Brennan's deck, so it took way longer to find that. But there were like 2 to 3 judges that walked over to us like, "What is happening at this match?" And I looked at all of them, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm scooping in like 3 turns. I'm just here to mess around at this point. Like, this is an awful matchup." And they look over, see Crustle, saw Gardevoir, and they're like, "Yeah, it checks out," and just walked away. But, like, we were getting looks the whole time, but we didn't care. I come to find out that Brendan's list actually plays 0 Mew EX, so when Brennan said that they were not going to play Mew at all, I thought they weren't just going to put Mew into play. I didn't realize there literally was not a Mew to put into play, so after learning this, I was like, wow, awesome, there's actually 0 way I could have beaten this deck. And I know someone's going to be like, "Oh, just like, retreat lock the Monkey Dory," so they could swing like 30 a turn with my Rock Chestplate, and even if they don't confuse me because of Mist, I mean, they still had enough. They were so good with the energy, the energy spread plus Monkey Dory plus the 30 damage. They would have KO'd my Crustle, and I wouldn't have done anything to stop Brennan. So I did what I could, and I'm proud of the making day 2, but this is where things kind of went bad, was after Brennan waking up for the official day 2, but match number 10, I'm up against Brandon Joestar, who was actually like one of the coolest guys ever. I mean, this guy's a dog. I found out he made this is his 9th day 2 with Raging Bolt. So, guy's clearly an experienced Raging Bolt player. He won match number 1. I won match number 2. We could not finish out a match number 3, so we did end in a tie. And honestly, all things considered, I want to go back to the list. I feel like that actually is a pretty good result for Crustle, and I was very proud of the way I played. I did make one big misplay, and I think it was like I played Arvin when I was supposed to play boss or something like that, but I was still able to power through the matchup and make it work. But it's just so hard to go through a Raging Bolt deck that's got Slitherwings, Mew, Raging Bolt, and 2-Fan Rotoms on top of a Jamming Tower. I mean, just the amount of outs to Crustle that there was is nuts. And the fact that I was able to pull off a win, I mean, I was playing so out of my mind, and then obviously the third game we couldn't finish. You know, I was pretty proud of that matchup, but I was feeling pretty defeated because at this point, I had gone on a huge win streak rounds 4 through 7, but then between rounds 8 through 10, you know, I had tied 2 of them and lost another. And little did I know that would start some of the worst luck matchup-wise I think I've pretty much ever had while playing a deck like this. Match number 11, I pair with Rowan, who was a really, really cool guy. You know, really strong Armor Rouge box player. Actually was the second Crustle he played against because he said he played against one in day 1, and I mean, looking here, that definitely was true. There's not much Crustle can do against Armor Rouge, reason being this Chi-Yu plus double Armor Rouge. Armor Rouge itself swings for 180 damage and does burn, so puts you up to 200 damage, which isn't like an OHKO, but considering there was always 2 Armor Rouge in play, as well as a Chi-Yu, there was never a good Pokemon I could boss KO, because if I boss KO'd the 2 Chi-Yu, there was 3 Night Stretchers and a Sacred Ash to bring it back and set it up instantly, but there was also 2 Armor Rouge to beat through my deck on top of the 40 damage swinging Charcadet. Which isn't much, but I mean, that damage adds up when you're going for multiple shots. Of course, there was also the Mew EX, which Homie used, I think, twice in the matchup as well, just to tank a hit, but also get 120 damage done with Genome Hacking. I mean, there's just too many outs to deal with Crustle in this deck. This was not a matchup Crustle is prepped to deal with. I think if they didn't play Chi-Yu and it was just Armor Rouge and Mew, I think there actually is a really good line to win against this deck, but of course, playing the Chi-Yu on top of the Armor Rouge, on top of the Mew, and the 3 Night Stretcher, and the Sacred Ash, I mean, there's just nothing I can do. Playing against Sean in match 12 was just where I think I felt probably almost as defeated. I think that might have been the point where I felt the most defeated the entire tournament. Homie was playing Slowking, and Homie was talking about how awful a matchup it was for Crustle, and yeah, they didn't play any other Crustles, and I was like, that's fair, but, you know, I thought maybe there was like a small chance, and of course I was totally wrong, there wasn't, but, you know, I had a little bit of hope I could pull one through, and I was actually able to win the second match in that best of 3. I got hammered on the first one, played the second one, was able to just be super aggressive and take out the Slowkings before they were able to chain multiple setup Slowkings at a time, and because of that, I was able actually to walk away with a win against that matchup. So I was able to go 2-1 in that individual best of 3, but of course it's Slowking, which is a single prize attacking deck, and there's really not much I could do against that at all because you're just spamming, what do we call it? Sean was just spamming Kyurem the whole time and just swinging for 110, 110, 110, 110, and there's only so much I can do before an eventual board wipe, even with my Pokevital A and Super Potion healing. So Pokevital A really did help win that second game, but I couldn't pull it off a second time in a row, so, you know, I did fall down to Sean's Slowking list, but Sean was an amazing player, very knowledgeable about his deck, very knowledgeable about his lines, definitely a confident Slowking player, and really made the deck work. So, I mean, shout out to Sean for taking a deck like this so far, and going 8-5-1, getting 245th at the regional. That guy was definitely an amazing opponent. Going into match number 13, I was up against Patrick Polton, who, you know, he seemed pretty defeated, just like I did going into this last round, but, you know, Homie was playing Terra Box, as I came to learn, and the second I flipped over Crustle, I mean, I saw the life leave my opponent's eyes. He made it work, though. I mean, it was a pretty close set, I feel like, both times. This actually might have been one of the closer sets I played, I think, at the tournament. I mean, we were back and forth a ton. And it came down in the second game. I actually prized my Pokevital A, and Patrick prized his Mew. So it really came down to who was going to take those first prize cards that would change the tide of the match. And I think this one I actually lost one as well, just because of a slow start, like just Torrential Pump early game before I could evolve all around, just kind of hammered me a little bit too much. And I forgot if that happened the first game or the second game. All I know is it came down to it in the third game, and I was cruising through my deck. I got my Super Potion out of my first KO because I was able to KO, what was it? I think it was the Wellspring or Terrapagos, something like that, because I had Terrapagos in play just because of a rough start, so Patrick had Terrapagos to beat through my Cornerstone, and then I was able to KO Terrapagos or Wellspring, something like that. I was able to take 2 press cards, get my Pokevital A. At the same time, my opponent was able to get Mew, but at that point, I had a full HP Crustle. My opponent had burned through, I believe, both Night Stretchers, so there was no more recovery, except for the Rod, which wasn't guaranteed, like, stuff to hand, so that wasn't ideal. And yeah, I was able to just out-heal my way through that matchup and take the win there against Patrick. Definitely a close set. A very, very skilled Terror Box player. I mean, homie was, playing out of his mind. It just, again, unfortunate matchup. Match number 14, I'm up against Joseph Cornell, who Joe, was actually one of the coolest guys ever. Both of us sat down for round 14, just hoping to pull out a last win, and we talked about it. I told him before the match, I'm like, hey, you want to play board state? I know win isn't going to change anything. We'll both be in pretty much the top 512. We have no real out to get 256, but I figured not tying would just be a little bit better for one of our records. And he's like, yeah, no, of course. Sounds good. He's like, I'm hoping to finish the match, and I'm like, no. Like, absolutely, me too. I am not here to play slow. I'm here to play as absolutely fast as possible, but I figured, if we can make this work, I'd love to, just figure something out between the two of us. And he's like, yeah, no, of course, dog. So, we set up to play, and homie's playing Golden Go Soul Rock. And, of course, there's another single prize Golden Go. So I had a little bit of, I had to play very smart and kind of work around, but Cornerstone plus, the Rock Chestplate, when there's no Tool Scrapper in his list, plus Pokevital A, plus Super Potion, plus Triple Monkey Dory, I just kind of ran through. I felt really bad, got to a point where he just turroed for game, and when I say that, he literally picked up his last Pokemon, and we kind of just ran to the prizing together to get our packs for making top 512. We got 9 packs each, but homie was a super, super nice guy, awesome opponent to play against. Again, just an unfortunate matchup to hit in that last round of the Milwaukee Championship. But yeah, I ended my day then going 7-5-2. Although day 2 seemed to be super unlucky, and I will live on the copium that these 3. Of course, Gardevoir was a matchup I planned to hit, but hitting Armarouge box and then Slowking back to back definitely felt like a little bit of bad luck. But considering I had pretty much the dream matchup spread when I needed it most, with the triple Saralege plus Golden Go for my 4 rounds to carry me to day 2, I figured it was about karma going one way for me and then going against me the next. So I can't complain too much. Overall, I had an amazing time in Milwaukee. It was a great city. It was an amazing run event. All of my opponents were such nice people, and it was absolutely amazing to play against each one of them. So, shout out to my opponents for all playing very well, being super nice people. I hope their trip was just as fun as mine was. I hope everyone else had a great trip at Milwaukee, and I would love to just say thank you to everyone who said hi and was willing to chat for a few minutes and, just slow down and catch up with each other. It was a ton of fun meeting everyone, just like it was at Pittsburgh. So, I'm super excited to go to the next regional. I will not be going to Vegas, but I will most likely hopefully be going to Toronto, so I'd love to see a bunch of people there. Of course, I know that's not for a little bit of a ways out. I think it's like 3 months away, but I'm still looking forward to it now, and I can't wait to see what everyone brings to Toronto and showdown in the next regional. Before I do close out today's video, though, in today's recap, I did kind of want to say something as a little bit of a channel update. So as you guys know, I have the GinJTCG store with a bunch of clothing and stuff, but I think I am going to take a little bit of a pivot away from the store. For those of you who don't know, something about me is I like art a lot. I do pretty much all the art for my channel, not just counting the thumbnails, but my logos and all the drawings and stuff like that, and the couple mats I made for the Rogue Regionals and Creators Cook-Off through Chef Husky's channel, and my competitive team Draw Past TCGs, like logos and art and the channel and the banners. Like, I do all of that. It's something I like doing. I work in a school. I do that a lot with my kids, where I'll draw with them and everything. But yeah, so something I got into recently was making like the custom trainer cards for myself. So I made one for me, which I'll flash on screen right here, and I'm currently working on my girlfriend's and some of the other members of the Draw Past TCG team, and I think I might start this as a little bit of a business, and business in the sense where it's like, I take a little request here, request there, maybe just like one open request at a time. So if this is something you're interested in, I would love to make an art for you with your favorite Pokemon, make it a fun little supporter trainer card, and just send you the file. style, for you to make your own trainer cards. I found out at Pittsburgh that people send these cards to each other, you know, like give these cards at events to each other, and it was a super fun like trading, collecting thing that I thought I could make for myself. And I mean, I probably will have like my girlfriend's up here too, I guess, next to mine, because I'm pretty much done with hers as well. But I thought, yeah, if you guys wanted a card drawn by me with you and your favorite Pokemon, I'm not necessarily like the world's best artist, I get that, but you know, these take a long time to do, so it would be you know, working out the pricing with everyone based on how long this stuff is taken. But in general, I'll try to have that turnaround within like I'd probably say like a week of like starting the drawing, just to work like a couple hours each day and make sure it looks really good. I would probably need like a couple reference photos, because I'm not necessarily the world's most talented person at drawing people, so you know, just a couple photos of yourself, the pose you like just whatever picture you want, and I'd pretty much just turn that into a what do you call it, like a picture with a Pokemon. I mean, I'll flash back to like my card, which is like above me. Nope, it's that way, above me that way, and then also the picture it came from will be flashed on screen right now too. Yeah, like, you know, I'll just turn a picture into an art and hopefully get that out to you guys. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll probably figure out a way to do these commissions. I just thought they'd be a little bit of fun to do through the channel. So yeah, with that being said, I hope everyone's looking forward to maybe some more artwork from me on top of videos, and seeing me in some more tournaments, as well as seeing you guys in more videos coming soon. With that being said, I hope everyone is doing amazing. I'll catch everyone later. Stay epic. Peace.